briefly covered our case study on Tuesday, which was this incredible assembly you see on this slide, created by Square Robot. Now, Square Robot is a Boston-based startup who created this robot for the purpose of inspecting petroleum storage tanks. So through using SolidWorks, they were able to essentially eliminate the need for human inspection. And what this did is it ensured safety and accuracy, and also reduced costs for their customers. Going over the agenda quickly, as I mentioned in the last session, I wanted to cover the expanded functionality, the enhanced performance, and also show you SolidWorks in action. But now, since the last presentation, we did cover expanded functionality and enhanced performance, and we began covering SolidWorks in action. And if you did miss the previous session, then just contact me and I'll provide you with a recording. On the left there, you see a lot of sections, and every section there has several demonstrations that highlight different enhancements and improvements to the software. But then, as I mentioned before, I really intended to focus on the primary enhancements that would affect all of you watching. So core enhancements in the areas of user experience and parts, which were covered in the last session, and assemblies and drawings, which I will cover in this session. Now, keep in mind that what I did demonstrate on Tuesday and what I will demonstrate today make up a fraction of what's new this year. So for more information on any of these other powerful products, such as Simulation, Visualize, Composer, just contact us and we'll provide you with that information. Now, to quickly recap the last session and quickly recap enhancements to user experience, this new release saw improvements to the quick access toolbar and the command manager, as well as some general user interface enhancements that ensured more of your time was spent on the design. So achieving more screen real estate is now possible through optimizing wasted space, and the redo function saw an enormous revamp, now enabling you to redo up to 60 features. For parts, we discussed enhancements to sheet metal, 3D printing support, weldments, and structure systems, demonstrating some new features and improved tools. And I primarily highlighted the new flush trim and weldments, the color picker tool for appearances, and the new capability to create edge flanges along non-linear edges in sheet metal. So now that we sort of recapped what we discussed last session, let's just tackle today's agenda, starting with assemblies. So there are 3 assembly demonstrations that you're about to see today, and I'll use these to run you through the new features that are on the slide. There's a fair bit to cover, so let's just dive in. Now, as you spend more time creating and working within your assembly designs in SolidWorks, you will find a more streamlined approach and more streamlined tools to help you assemble, pattern, and analyze your assemblies. So while mating in SolidWorks 2021, you will find a new streamlined property manager. Instead of expanding sections for each group type, there are now tabs for each group, making it easier to find the correct mate this year. Now, looking at the previously created mate, switching alignment presents the question as to how to handle the other components. Choosing no oftentimes means over-defining other mates to solve for the new alignment, which creates errors and more work to fix. Choosing yes would have avoided this issue by instead flipping the other affected mates, making this a simple fix. Well, in SolidWorks 2021, there is a new system option, as you see there, under Assemblies, to choose how to always select one of these choices or to retain the prompt. Now, choosing always will by default flip the alignment of all the other mates affected in this scenario. So what this does is it essentially saves time and confusion and ensures that you can always get the results you want. Now, when creating mates to slots in SolidWorks 2021, you can now choose the default type of position, and in this example, center of slot has been selected as the default choice. And as you can see, it's automatically made it to the center. Now, likewise, there is a new option to lock the rotation of slot mates, sort of similar to locking concentric toolbox components. The default slot mate location is a new document setting found under mates, and this eliminates the need to regularly change the location type when adding new slot mates to your designs. And this is just going to save you some time. Now, SOLIDWORKS has always offered the flexibility to change the configuration of each component. However, sometimes you may just want all of the components to reference the original instance, and this can be time-consuming to do one at a time. Now, new in SOLIDWORKS 2021 is a new option to synchronize the configurations of all component instances created by the pattern. This new option also can help from inadvertently changing the configuration of any of these components from the quick menu dropdown, and it does so by locking this option within the component properties dialog. So what this does, it ensures that as you make any configuration changes to your seat component of the pattern, those changes are properly propagated. And now, as you see on the screen, finally, interference detection has always been a powerful tool to quickly find issues within your designs. And this year, SOLIDWORKS now supports the ability to save these interferences out in a spreadsheet. Now, when doing this, you even have the choice to capture a screenshot of each interference so that these can be shared and reviewed by others inside of your organization. This offers a new collaborative way to review interferences in a design and determine if they are intentional, maybe due to fit conditions, or if they're accidental. And then you can collaborate with others on what changes should be made to solve these interferences. Now, moving on to our second demonstration. You deserve the best performing tools so you can work as efficiently as possible. And new this year, SOLIDWORKS delivers a lot of new enhancements that makes accessing your data faster. So as you see there, open times for both resolved and lightweight assemblies have been improved. This 2,259 component assembly opens in only 21 seconds, making getting into your designs faster than ever. And the larger your assembly, the greater the gains you will see when opening them in lightweight mode. Now, to improve working with lightweight components, there is also a more streamlined approach to accessing the assembly and feature information. Simply expanding a component from the feature manager tree will dynamically load these components on demand, giving you access to the fully resolved part or subassembly. And this prevents unnecessary loading of large assemblies and allows you to quickly access and resolve the components that you're working on, when you need them. Now, working with configurations in SOLIDWORKS 2021, switching between and creating new configuration is now significantly faster for assemblies. And the performance evaluation tool has always been an invaluable resource to give insight into areas of the design that may cause you performance degradation. And new this year is the analysis and reporting of circular references within an assembly. So in the case of this design here, we see that two holes on two separate parts have been found to reference one another. You can use this information to further investigate the designs and determine how they are referencing one another. So in this scenario, one of the components listed in the report contains a hole wizard feature where its center points are referencing the edges of a hole in the adjacent part. And this is a common top-down design practice to ensure that holes always remain aligned to one another. However, investigating the second component feature, also a hole wizard, it appears that the center points within this sketch are referencing the edges of the last hole. So this creates a circumstance where both features are trying to define the location of each other. To fix this scenario, the best course of action would be to remove the external reference and redefine the location of the holes, and in this case, dimensionally, to the part they reside in. Now, as you see here, they are being dimensionally defined. And once the changes have been made, just a quick rebuild will remove any warnings from the assembly. Now, finally, you can use a silhouette defeature, which was introduced in 2019 in an assembly to create a simplified representation of it, usually to protect proprietary information. Now, this silhouette defeature provides an intuitive step-by-step workflow to define the simplified version using some geometry simplification tools. So while you are selecting the components, bodies, or sub-assemblies you want to simplify, you will always have a side-by-side view to show what your finished representation will look like. This ensures that you can capture the correct amount of detail. Now, the methods you can use here range from something as simple as a bounding box or a cylindrical representation of the components, or something more complex like a polygon or a tight fit method, which can add more detail to your final designs. Now, perhaps some of the components in your subassembly are critical to show in a top-level design. And for those instances, you can choose the copy geometry method to capture all of the detail of those components, bodies, or subassemblies. Now, what's new this year for Silhouette defeature is the ability to save this simplified representation as a configuration within the same assembly from which it was created. This eliminates the need to manage a separate file that contains the simplified model. Now, you may still want to use these other methods when using Silhouette defeature to remove proprietary information from a design if you want to maybe share that outside of your organization. However, when using defeatured models within a higher level assembly, it is now as simple as just right-clicking on the component and choosing to use the defeatured version of that component or subassembly. So defeatured assemblies as configuration really provide a way to not only simplify your assemblies visually, but also add a performance boost in cases where not every detail in an individual component is necessary. Now on to our third demonstration, which is the graphics performance. The graphics performance introduced in 2019 fundamentally changed the game on how graphics are handled by SOLIDWORKS and how your certified graphics card provided higher frame rates and smoother response when interacting with large assemblies. But this system option found under performance settings is now enabled by default this year. So to see the difference, we will compare the setting enabled and disabled side by side, running a macro that performs 500 mouse rotations for consistency. Now, as you see there, it's quite clear that the graphics performance is significantly faster by the faster, but the numbers tell the real story, because maybe this isn't well represented over this webinar. Now, these actions took just under 8 seconds and ran an average of 63 frames per second with the graphics performance enabled. And with it disabled, they took over 160 seconds at an average of almost or just above 3 frames per second. Now, if you haven't enabled graphics performance yet in your SOLIDWORKS, you're definitely going to notice some immediate gains when using your certified graphics card. Now, new for 2021 are two enhancements that make graphics performance even faster. Now, the first enhancement is when working in hidden lines removed or hidden lines visible. So calculating silhouette edges is a complex task graphically that was previously handled by the CPU. However, new this year, all of these calculations are now handled by the graphics card. So in the case of the assembly from Square Robot, there are a lot of edges to calculate across the model. And like before, the difference is definitely apparent, as you see on the screen. Now, the second enhancement is the addition of occlusion culling technology to graphics performance. Now, occlusion culling is when it is determined that your model is out of view, so it doesn't need to be rendered. Now, with a special development built, the occlusion culling has been paused as this model is rotated. And you can see that several of the components that were previously out of view were never rendered by a graphics card. Now, this has a much more significant impact on performance the more components are asked to be rendered by a graphics card. So in this assembly, maybe the gains are marginal, but in a much larger assembly, the gains are definitely much more impactful. Now, graphics performance in SOLIDWORKS 2021 continues to really take advantage of your investment into your certified graphics card, delivering a much more smoother and faster experience when you're working with complex assemblies. So that's about it for assemblies, and with a lot to love, upgrading your SOLIDWORKS is a must if you are working in this mode frequently. Now, along the same theme as assemblies, let's just turn our attention to drawings. So I have great performance gains to highlight, as well as some great enhancements to detailing mode. So let's get started. When working with large assembly drawings, view manipulation is often vital to a good user experience. And over the years, SOLIDWORKS has really worked hard to optimize view manipulations on the screen. Now, detailing mode was introduced in 2020 to allow users to open massive drawings in seconds. And for assemblies, the enhanced graphics performance option was implemented, just as I mentioned earlier, to really take advantage of high-end graphics cards. Well, this year, this enhanced graphics performance option has been extended to the drawings environment. So let's see that here. On the left, we have 2020, SOLIDWORKS 2020, and on the right, we have SOLIDWORKS 2021. In this side-by-side comparison, the same 5-sheet drawing is opened. So let's start by panning the drawing in the document window. Now notice with SOLIDWORKS 2020 on the left, does a good job, but you can still see some latency. The same panning action in 2021 on the right is dramatically faster with keeping up with the mouse and providing a better experience essentially. Now zooming in and out is just as dramatic, and panning while zoomed in is lightning fast. Now for comparison, we will repeat the same steps with SOLIDWORKS 2020, and again you can see some latency. And this can be annoying sometimes because you can overshoot your zoom magnification due to this delay. Now panning is better while zoomed in, but not as fast and precise as SOLIDWORKS 2021. And the scroll bar pans show a similar graphics performance gain in SOLIDWORKS 2021. Now, the second sheet of this drawing contains even more views of this 2,400 part assembly, and the performance difference is even more pronounced. So for years, the SOLIDWORKS development team has really been working diligently to write code and partner with hardware vendors. And this year, it's definitely a validation of their hard work, the difference in performance. Now, introduced in 2020, detailing mode provides a way to open massive drawings in seconds, as I mentioned earlier, but it's not just limited to viewing the drawings. Viewing performance is super fast thanks to the performance improvements added this year, but detailing mode allows you to perform typical detailing tasks such as maybe editing or adding dimensions and annotations. The model does not get loaded, so sharing drawing files is easy, but of course the drawing views are intact and there is no loss of detail. Now this year, detailing mode supports editing of existing annotations such as notes and dimension, something that wasn't possible earlier. Now, existing notes can be edited to add or remove information, and you have full access to all the annotation editing tools. The front view of this drawing, as we saw just there, is displayed as a broken view with foreshortened dimension to allow for a more concise display, but the top view isn't, and we'll fix that right now. And now detailing mode supports broken views, as well as cropped views and even detailed views. So similar to the front view, let's just quickly break the top view in 3 places, as I'm doing here. Now, all of the break line styles are available, as well as the gap between the breaks. And also now in SOLIDWORKS 2021, ordinate dimensions are supported this year. And moreover, we can also add additional items to existing ordinate dimensions that we couldn't before, such as these edges and these center lines. Now, detail views can now also be created in detailing mode in the same manner as you would if the drawing was fully resolved. So you just draw the detail circle or choose a sketch profile and place the view. And when detailing drawings, it's also common to define hole information. And this year, detailing mode also supports hole callouts, and foreshortened dimensions are applied if necessary. Now, existing dimensions have full editing capability. For instance, the tolerance on the dimension between the holes is important for the function of this part. And all of the dimension properties are now available, including its tolerance and the precision. So the location of the first hole is not properly defined here to the center of the hole. And as all of the controls on every tab in the dimension property manager is available, we can easily define the arc condition of the dimension to the center of that hole. So as you can see, these enhancements to SOLIDWORKS 2021 really extend the capability of detailing mode to fully detail your drawings in record time without having to load full drawings containing large assemblies or really resource intensive views. But with drawings, the enhancements don't stop there. So regardless of how you open a drawing, the dimensions tool has been enhanced to make it easier to create dimensions. Now notice that now the dimension text is transparent after the first selection, making it easier to see the second selection. And as you saw there, VDA balloons are also frequently used in the automotive industry and are a requirement for many customers. And a new leader type is now available for these balloons. And finally, when working with sketch geometry on a drawing, it is common to add relations just as you would in the sketch environment. Now, previously, these relations were in the property manager, but now in SOLIDWORKS 2021, the sketch relations pop-up toolbar is now available, as you're seeing right now, allowing you to apply sketch relations with minimal mouse travel. So improvements in the drawing environment are always among the most popular enhancements with the SOLIDWORKS user base, and in 2021, the tradition definitely continues. So yeah, this concludes my presentation for today. I threw a lot of information at you, but what I showed over this presentation and the last one really just scratches the surface of what's new this year. So as I mentioned before, if you want to learn about any of these other products, just contact us and we'll provide you with a lot more information. Now, in the next session, scheduled November 3rd, I believe, I will introduce you to the 3DEXPERIENCE platform and we'll go through cloud-based collaboration, design, and data management. So please be sure to tune in. So yeah, thank you all for attending. And if you have any questions or queries, contact me using my details that you're seeing on the slide. And have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.